We're going to take a look at the Rikomagic MK902 device here. It's an Android device. It's got a Rockchip 3188 quad-core Cortex A9 CPU, which states up to 1.6 GHz, but you can overclock that with custom firmware. It's got a Mali 400 quad-core GPU. It's got 2 gig of DDR3 memory RAM. It runs Android 4.2, supports Miracast. You have the option of an 8 gig onboard storage version or a 16 gig version, and it has a micro SD slot which you can obviously put in a card up to 32 gig. The Wi-Fi is 802.11 with an external antenna. It has built-in Bluetooth, and it has a 5 megapixel camera, which is obviously very handy for those that want to use the likes of Skype. And the ports, it has HDMI, AV output, optical, Ethernet, micro SD, and 4 USB slots, and your DC in, which is 5 volts at 2.5 amps. So let's move on to the actual device now. So unboxing it, comes in a fairly plainish looking box. You know, it tells you on the side exactly what it does, you know, what's supported. So you've got the likes of Skype and Twitter, XBMC is on there, and then you've got all your specs on the back, which we've already gone into. So let's open it up, and as you can see, it's quite a small little device, and the build of it is very nice indeed. Actually, it feels very nice. So you've got the power there, you've got the Ethernet port there, that's the optical, HDMI, and then that one there is for an AV set of leads. Over on this side we've got the micro SD and 2 USB ports there, and then we've got a little area for ventilation. They're 2 little LED lights, power type lights, and in the middle there is your 5 megapixel camera. And on the other side we've again got a ventilation port and 2 USB slots and your Wi-Fi external antenna. And also just next to that is a little tiny hole, and that is your reset switch for when you want to upgrade the firmware. Right, so that's the unit. Very, very nice, feels well made. And in here we've got the UK power supply there. We've got a little manual, nice little manual. To be fair, it's very small, quite hard to read, but it's well laid out. There's your AV leads if you need AV connections. So that just pops in that little hole there on the back, and then you can plug those in. And we have a USB cable. And that actually goes into that slot there, the one that said slave, and then the other end obviously goes into your PC, and that's for doing any update work to it. There is also a HDMI cable, but I've already taken it out of the box, unfortunately, and that's ready to go straight in to the TV. Okay, so I've actually flashed this device with a custom firmware, brilliant custom firmware from SMIC 717394 from FreakTab, because as is usually the case with these devices, the stock firmware that came with it was pretty dreadful if you want to use XBMC with it, whereas this custom firmware here that I've found, which is a Jelly Bean one, is very, very good, and XBMC actually runs pretty flawlessly with it. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that, and I've done a guide on how to do that. So once flashed with this, let's go into the settings, and you can have a look and see what the actual output and all that is. So I mean, we can click on the Ethernet there, and you can see it's very good. I'm getting 65 megabits a second, which is very, very good. And if we look at the HDMI mode, you can see we are actually running full 1080p, 1920 by 1080. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install the official XBMC. So from the official XBMC page, I'm going to download the ARM version there, and you'll see that actually it works great. So no messing around with different versions of XBMC. You can actually go with the official version, which is obviously a real bonus. So that's just downloading now, and yeah, the Wi-Fi on this, I have to say, is brilliant. It's actually one of the best units I've ever come across for the Wi-Fi. That external antenna makes a massive difference. So yeah, well done to the Rikomagic folks for that. Right, so here we go. XBMC is downloaded. So let's just click on that and click on install, and it just takes a matter of seconds to install. It's a very fast device, very quick. Not just the Wi-Fi speeds, but you know, the processor and the RAM. It's a very impressive piece of kit. And this is all real time, by the way. I'm not going to speed anything up for you in this section. So we'll open XBMC, and you can see there, you know, how quickly that's loading up. On some devices, that section there can be quite painfully slow. So we're into XBMC, and as you can see, let's go over to system. You can see there's a navigation bar at the bottom there, Android navigation bar. So if we go in here, you'll be able to see that, look, that's not actually 1920 by 1080. That's because the bar uses up some of that. So, but there is a workaround for that for Android. So just exit out of XBMC, and what we need to do is we just need to go on the Play Store, and we need to search for an app called Full Screen. Very handy little app, this. And it's very customizable as well. So you know, we're going to that at another time, but let's just install that. And it's only a very small app as well. It doesn't take up very much room. As you can see, that was really quick. So we can open that, and there you go. Give it access, and you've got lots of different options in there, which again, like I say, we'll come to that another day. But the icon it puts on there, we actually don't need that, so we can get rid of that little shortcut. What we want to do is put the widget on there. So scroll over to your widgets, and there you go. Drag that onto your desktop, wherever you want it on your home page. And what that will then do, if we click on that, it should turn the screen full screen. There you go. So the app bar, the navigation bar, sorry, has gone, and you now got these two little things in the corners, and you can remove those if you want, or move them elsewhere on the screen and make them do different things. You know, basically they're sort of bring up different windows. It can be used as a back button, but like I say, you can disable them or do whatever you want. It's very customizable. So here you go. As you can see now, that is in full screen. We can double check in system, and there you go, 1920 by 1080. So that is a proper full screen. And like I say, if those things at the bottom annoy you, you can easily disable those if you open up the full screen app. So we can go through here anyway, and I'll just show you the where are we? We need the I was just going to try and show you the hardware acceleration settings, that we can leave them as default. So we've got playback, so we want the next one down, which is hardware acceleration, and there you go. This is the default XBMC setting, so I'm just going to leave it as that, and then we give it a little test and see how it fares. So what I'll do is I'm just going to quickly install Total Installer, as that's the simplest way to install any add-ons. So http //totalxbmc.tv, and then we'll label that as Total XBMC. So if we now go System, Add-ons, and Install from zip, we can install the repository, and you can see how quickly it's doing that, and it's also quickly updated it in the background as well. You know, it's very snappy. And remember, we are on Wi-Fi here as well, so this is not an Ethernet connection. So ideally, you know, I always recommend doing Ethernet, but this is running really well on Wi-Fi. So I'm just going to search for Big Buck Bunny. Big Buck will do. That's a good test subject to use because we can try full HD. So we just install that. Okay, now let's head over to our video add-ons. Big Buck Bunny, let's go for 1080p. And we'll just try the top one there. There you go. It looks good. I just bring up the information there, and you know, you can see the dropped frames, skipped frames. It all looks good at the minute. It usually drops a few at the very start. So as you can see there, we've got some drop frames. That is pretty. That's pretty usual for most devices. They will drop a few frames at the start when using XBMC, but after that, it's fine. You know, and we can try skipping. So we just try skipping 10 minutes and see how that affects things. Obviously, like I say, we're on Wi-Fi and this is full 1080p. And there you go. That doesn't appear to have really affected anything there at all. We're still on the same amount of drop frames that we had at the start, and it's working very well. So yeah, that's the stock XBMC settings, and it seems to be working perfect. So what I'm going to do now is just head back over to the settings, and I'm just going to try and install the most intensive skin, the heaviest skin that I can possibly find. So I'm going to go with the Aeon MQ5. So let's install that, and if any of you have ever used this one before, you will know just how good a device you need. You know, you really do need some good specs to run this skin well. If you want to run it fluidly, you know, you do need a good spec machine. So this is all real time and it's on Wi-Fi, so this will give you a good indication of you know, the speed of this unit. So there's lots and lots that this skin actually needs to install. Lots of dependencies, as you can see, going on there in the bottom right corner. Whilst it's doing this, what I will say is that the added benefit of this little box is, I briefly went through it earlier, but if you do use Skype, the fact that it's got a built-in 5-megapixel camera is great. You know, the camera is actually pretty good quality, I think myself. You know, for such a small little device, it's not bad at all. I would say the microphone isn't the best, obviously, as you'd probably expect for such a small little device. But yeah, so long as you're not sort of about 5 meters away from it, it is audible. You can work it out, and it's a nice little extra. So yeah, if you do use Skype, then that's a lovely little added bonus, that one. Okay, so this is just doing the initial startup. So if any of you have ever used something like the Raspberry Pi and attempted to install this skin, it can quite literally take hours to do this this little bit here. So as you can see, this is going much better. You know, we're already on 70% there, and like I say, yeah, on Raspberry Pi, I mean, I have left it sat there, and I think, you know, thinking, is it broken? Is it, you know, is it froze? But there you go. It's come up. It's come up on this in what was that? Probably a minute, just over, and you know, you can see the beautiful imagery come up. It's fluid, you know, nice and fast. We can I don't know, let's go into weather, and then you can see, you know, straight into the maps there. You've got all your 10-day forecast, weekend, you know, everything is immediate. You know, you go into it and it's immediate. We can have a little scroll around, you know, and well, you can just see how fluid it is. So it is a it's a beautiful skin, and I think it's a beautiful device. You know, I can't fault it. Everything so far that I've tried on this device, and I've been using it for a few months now, is just working perfectly. But like I say, you do have to flash it with the custom firmware. The one that I'm currently on is that SMIC version from FreakTab, and he's done a great job there, brilliant job. Yeah, it's very easy to flash as well. So what you're essentially getting here is it's the same chipset as the Xunity Eclipse, so basically exactly the same box, but you're also getting a camera as well built in, and you've got the external Wi-Fi antenna, which is great, and you've also got an extra USB port. And also added to that is this version here that I'm using is the 16 gig version. So I believe the Xunity Eclipse is 8 gig. So if you're willing to do some, you know, a little bit of work yourself by flashing the device, then obviously you can save yourself some money there, and you've got a very similar device to the Xunity Eclipse and other ones that you can get out there. So yep, I can't rate it highly enough. For the price, I think it's brilliant, and well, really, for the price bracket, it would get 10 out of 10 for me, but it doesn't come with a remote. That's the only downside, I would say. So I'll knock one off for that and give it a 9 out of 10. Alright, thanks for watching.